Well, we all know about the big coasters like Steel Vengeance, Fury 325, Beast, X2, but there are some fantastic roller coasters out there that seem to fly under the radar. Many of the coasters on today's list come from smaller parks, which is probably why they're so underrated, but just because it's a smaller park doesn't mean that their rides are lackluster. This list I have for today is ranked in no particular order, so let's get to our first pick. Skyliner at Lakemont Park, ALTOONA, Pennsylvania. Opening in 1987, this relocated wooden coaster has remained hidden by many coaster enthusiasts, mostly because it's at a small, rural amusement park. Skyliner stands only a mere 60 feet tall, but still manages to outdo itself when comparing to other larger wooden coasters. The back row on this coaster is loaded with airtime, featuring buzzer bars similar to Phoenix. Each airtime moment is that more intense. If you ever find yourself near ALTOONA, I advise a quick pit stop at Lakemont Park and give Skyliner a go. Blue Streak, Conneaut Lake Park in Conneaut Lake, Pennsylvania. Similar to Skyliner, Blue Streak is located at another rural amusement park called Conneaut Lake. This small rundown amusement park looks like it's abandoned. Even the condition of Blue Streak seems sketchy, but that's all part of the fun. This wooden coaster delivers some exciting moments of airtime and pure moments of terror, as you keep wondering if the train will successfully make it back to the station. The ride is tucked away between the trees, so it has some natural beauty to it. The best part is that this coaster is only a short drive away from Waldameer, which is the home of the fantastic Ravine Flyer 2, which is the next roller coaster on our list, located at Waldameer Park in Erie, Pennsylvania. This wooden coaster is loaded with airtime from the beginning to the end. The layout is fantastic. It uses the terrain to the full advantage. Gravity Group really outdone themselves with this amazing coaster experience, overbanked turns, tunnels, airtime hills, and so much more. If you've never heard of this roller coaster or have never ridden it, make sure to stop and ride Ravine Flyer 2 on your next trip to Cedar Point, because it's only a couple hours away from Cedar Point. Flying Turns at Knoebels, located in ELYSBURG, Pennsylvania. Knoebels is home to the famous Phoenix wooden roller coaster. Many enthusiasts travel from afar to ride this overrated but still fantastic ride. Flying Turns, being a smaller roller coaster, constantly gets overlooked amongst its bigger brothers, Twister and Phoenix. Flying Turns isn't a big ride, or is it that intense, but it's extremely unique, being the only wooden bobsled coaster on the planet. The ride has lots of charm, which makes this a must-ride attraction at Knoebels. Unfortunately, this ride has a horrible capacity, so I recommend heading to this coaster first thing before marathoning Phoenix or Twister. Steel Eel, SeaWorld San Antonio in San Antonio, Texas. With a height of only 150 feet, Steel Eel gets instantly written off by many enthusiasts because it's not a hypercoaster. This is very unfortunate for them because Steel Eel delivers some of the best airtime that you can find on a coaster. The first 3 drops are outstanding moments of floater airtime. Take a ride in the back row to get the full experience. The ending is a little weak, which is what really holds this coaster back from being a complete mini hypercoaster masterpiece. NITRO, Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. Quite possibly one of the most underrated hypercoasters on the planet. When I created my list of top 10 hypercoasters, this ride barely made it on the list, but after taking a few more rides in Nitro during this past summer, I realized that even I was underrating this B&M coaster. The ride staff do an excellent job with the ride's operations. I was blown away with how fast they were dispatching the trains. Even on busier days, Nitro's line keeps moving. Nitro is a roller coaster that you need to experience in the back row. The airtime is never super intense, but delivers some good sustained floater airtime. Now that the market has been flooded with many more hyper and giga coasters by B&M, I can understand why this coaster keeps getting overlooked, but if you've never experienced Nitro, don't write it off before taking a spin. Matterhorn Bobsleds at Disneyland in Anaheim, California. The first steel tubular track coaster, Matterhorn Bobsleds is probably one of the most well-known coasters to make the list. If you know anything about coasters, I'm sure you must know of this ride. Being as popular as it is, I still think it gets overlooked by the other newer coasters today, including the 2 other coasters in the park with Space Mountain and Thunder Mountain. Matterhorn has a charm that I've yet to find in any other roller coaster, and that's including Expedition Everest. It doesn't deliver the thrills like your modern coaster, but I still find myself wanting more of this coaster every time I ride. Moto Coaster at Six Flags Darien Lake, Darien Center, New York. Six Flags Darien Lake was my home park during my teenage years, so I spent a good amount of time at this park. I think everyone knows of Ride of Steel, but I'm hard-pressed to find anyone who has even heard of Moto Coaster, the park's launching coaster by Zamperla. This family coaster doesn't break any records, and it's actually a clone coaster, but with only 2 of these clone models operating in the United States, Moto Coaster still feels a little original. The launch is surprisingly intense, not like Top Thrill Dragster or Storm Runner, but it's forceful enough to give you a little dose of adrenaline. The rest of the ride kinda meanders around, which is why I can understand why some people may not like it as much, but being a family coaster, I think this ride gets overlooked more than it should. Skyrocket, Kennywood Park in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania. The original Skyrocket model by Premier Rides, this fun launching coaster gets constantly overlooked by the bigger, more intense launch coasters around the globe. Skyrocket features 3 inversions, a vertical drop, and a few moments of airtime. After being down for maintenance during most of the 2018 season and part of the 2019 season, Skyrocket came back with a vengeance this past summer, and I'd argue is running better than ever. The airtime is more intense, the coaster is still glossy smooth, and with only a lap bar to hold you in, what's not to like? The ending is a little boring, but since this coaster reopened, I think the ride runs a little faster, making the ending a little more exciting. Rougarou, Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. In a park that is loaded with top-tier attractions, it's no surprise that this floorless looping coaster gets overlooked. The ride structure is over 20 years old, so it may have a hard time competing with the modern steel coasters, but don't underestimate this attraction. The inversions are still fun and forceful, including that incline loop, which is the most intense moment of the ride. Some argue that this coaster has a nasty rattle, but I think it's widely over-exaggerated. If you sit up near the front, you can get yourself a relatively smooth experience. With so many roller coasters in operation around the world, and even in the United States alone, it's hard to see why some of these coasters would get overlooked. So, was there a coaster that you consider underrated that didn't make today's list? Let me know in the comments below. As always, please subscribe so you don't miss out on more great content coming your way by X Screen Thrills.